Come by and check us out. We'll save you more in your total food bill than any other supermarket, or we'll double the difference in cash. That's right, double the difference in cash if we can't save you more in your total food bill. Come on in, total it up, check us out. We're doing something about inflation. Double the difference in cash if we can't save you more.
We feel great when you feel good.
This year, the red delicious apples from Washington State are more reasonable than ever. A great food value, any way you slice them.
The Bowdens at noon. You'll see more from here. Now from Channel 2, News Scene Update with Tom Sweeney and Toby Marsh, meteorologist Ken Phillips, and Ted Patterson with sports.
Good evening. Right now it is the middle of the night in Iran, and the 52 hostages are in the middle of an international tug of war. They are not home. They still have not gotten out of Iran, and the reason is a paper chase. Iran is stalling. It is just that simple, and here's why. It still hasn't signed the papers it needs to sign to set up bank accounts at the Bank of England. That's where the unfrozen assets will be sent once the hostages are free. This man is Behzad Nabavi. He is the chief negotiator for Iran. Nabavi says the reason there is a snag is that the U.S. tacked on an 11-page appendix onto the agreement, and he says Iran never agreed to do the things contained on those pages. Nabavi says it would have Iran give up some of its assets. This country says that's not so. This is Deputy Secretary of State Warren Christopher as he signed the agreement at about 3 this morning in Algiers. When this was shot, Christopher was certain all would go well. Right now, he's working to put things back on track, and the banking people admit there are some problems, but they claim they are not big ones, and the release should come. Also, Jody Powell, Mr. Carter's press secretary, is putting pressure on Iran. He told reporters tonight if the hostages are not free by inauguration tomorrow at noon, then Iran will have to deal with Ronald Reagan, and Reagan will be free to start all over again if he chooses to do that. The only truly positive sign of pending release came this morning on film. These are shots of at least some of the hostages being examined by a team of Algerian doctors. It could have been shot anywhere. U.S. officials would like to believe these examinations were done in a room at the airport in Tehran. Again, we really don't know. We do know that the Algerian doctors said the hostages are in good health and there were no problems as far as medical reasons to stop their release. About 15 minutes ago, we arranged a conference call between an interpreter in Baltimore and a man who would not identify himself, but who works in the control tower at the airport in Iran.
بله فرودگاه سواری از هیچ اطلاع نداری. خب بالاخره یه 50-60 آدم که اومدن رد شدن یا رد نشدن این ندیدین شما؟
Through the interpreter, we asked the question, where are the hostages? The Iranian at the airport said he has seen nothing. The airport is a big place, he said. We asked if airplanes were waiting to take the hostages. He said he could not say.
وقتی که 50-60 تا امریکایی بیان بالاخره موهاشون سرخه. شما یا دیدیشون یا ندیدیشون؟
After many questions, the man we talked to said he could tell us no more. He described security at the airport, according to our interpreter, as very tight. Our interpreter said he had the feeling the man in Tehran had been told to say nothing. So have thousands of others in Tehran and in key places around the world. They may know, they may not. We are still waiting. Toby?
And Tom, when the hostages finally leave Iran, they will eventually end up at the U.S. Army base and hospital in Wiesbaden, West Germany. Preparations are well underway for the arrival of the 52 Americans. The base and the hospital are now closed to all those without special security passes. The hospital at Wiesbaden is one of the best equipped in the world, and it has been the stopping point for the other hostages who have been released from Iran. And expectations are running high among hospital staffers that soon they will be treating the last of the American hostages.
Barry, it's more excitement and jubilation than anything else. A little bit of caution, too, until they're actually here with us and like a bird in the hand.
Yellow ribbons surround the hospital, and late today someone unfurled a banner that read, "Free at last, Iran is in the past." And at Andrews Air Force Base, an all-night vigil finally ended late this afternoon. About 80 members of the press had been camped out at the base since last night, waiting for President Carter to fly to West Germany to meet the hostages. That, of course, never happened. With the hostages still in Iran, by late this afternoon, it became clear the president would not be able to fly to Wiesbaden and return home in time for Ronald Reagan's inauguration.
And as all the reporters and photographers anxiously await the final word, the same is true for our national and state leaders. We tracked down Maryland Senator Charles McMathias today, and he gave us his thoughts on the legal ramifications of the U.S.-Iranian agreement.
As it has been represented to me in the reports I've been getting in the last 24 hours, that there is no profit in this for the Iranians, that they are not getting anything other than that they would have gotten if they had not acted in an illegal and outrageous way over a year ago. The business of arbitrating the rights of citizens, and I understand there is an arbitration procedure, is not a new one. It is frequently adopted in the course of a general settlement between nations. That was the practice at the end of World War I and the end of World War II, when vast private interests were involved as well as the public interest. It's not a happy solution, but it is one that has been sanctioned.
Senator Charles McMathias, the senior senator from Maryland.
And Tom, while much attention is focused on the hostages, tomorrow we get a new president, and next on News Scene Update we will tell you about some of those festivities.
Also, we'll get some reaction about the imminent release of the hostages from those closest to them, their families. That's next, right after this.
Boy, am I beat. Time for some quiet, soothing music. WMAR, FM 106. You know, I used to listen to LIF, but I got bored.
This waiting game we're playing is very hard on the hostages and their families. The families are very excited about seeing their loved ones after 443 days in captivity.
You do think he will fare well?
Oh, yes, definitely. I have all the confidence in the world in him.
Do you think he'll go on pursuing this type of career?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, he's a true professional. He studied, he's been in the Peace Corps for 4 or 5 years. He's been in Turkey and Iran. That's his life. I've always said that Iran is probably his home turf.
I'm really beginning to feel a sense of relief and anticipation, too. They haven't, from what I understand, they haven't left Iran, though, and with everything that's gone before, that's still a cause of some concern to me.
I want to thank God that he's answered our prayers and that apparently Donald will be coming back safe.
Tom, here in Baltimore tonight, Donald Cook's sister, Terry, told Joyce Jefferson she felt very let down when the hostages were not released yesterday. She admitted that the anticipation of these last few hours is almost harder to bear than the hundreds of days of waiting up until now.
Bring him out here, and you know, like everything was a mind trip. You know, it was impossible to go to sleep last night, mainly because of all the anxiety, and also the phone was ringing all night, and people were pounding on our door at 5 o'clock this morning, right after Jimmy Carter made his speech. So it works you hard. You get exhausted real easy, staying up until the last newscast, and then getting up in the morning at the very first newscast. It is a lot harder, and you do feel a lot more emotion. It all runs through you.
The families of the hostages obviously have special feelings about what has happened between Iran and the U.S. the past 14 months, but how have the events affected those who do not have personal ties with the 52 American captives? In Highlandtown today, we asked some people about their feeling toward Iran now that the crisis appears almost over.
I don't have no bitterness towards them now. I mean, it was just an awful thing that had to happen. I'm glad it's all over with.
Let bygones be bygones, is that what you say?
Not really. Just, I'd rather not say.
No, I think that they felt that they were right, too, doing what they did. And I believe that Carter had things under control all along. It was just a matter of getting it organized.
It sort of reminds you of the story of the boy calling Wolf, that you weren't sure until the very last minute. And with the help of God, maybe they'll finally reach here.
Yeah, I'd like to see them blow them off the map.
You would?
I would. I'm serious.
No, not really. I just pray for them, and I'm glad that the Americans is coming home on their way home. I'm glad of that. But I don't feel no bitter towards them because I guess it's a thing that they had to do, so they went on and done it.
That's what some of the people think. President-elect Ronald Reagan is, of course, hoping this entire drama is over before he takes office, which is noon tomorrow. Reagan says this is an agreement he can live with, and if he has to sign it to please the Iranians, he will. But if the delays continue, Reagan people would take over the negotiations, possibly reopening them altogether, possibly starting from scratch. Reagan people have already asked some Carter staffers to help in any new negotiations. Those Carter people have already said yes. President Carter is, of course, also hoping the hostage crisis is settled by noon tomorrow, but if it's not, he'll still go overseas to greet the hostages, not as president, but as a former president and special envoy appointed by President Ronald Reagan to greet the returning hostages. And President-elect Reagan, of course, becomes President Reagan tomorrow at noon, but already the festivities are well underway, marking his inauguration. The parties have already begun. A cool 15,000 people, some of his closest friends, attended a reception for Vice President-elect George Bush today. And outside, the final plans are being carried out for tomorrow's inaugural ceremonies and the ensuing parade. Last-minute problems with invitations are being worked out as best they can. Tonight, which is what you're looking at, the festivities began with the gala at the Capitol Center. And tomorrow, we'll have complete coverage of the inauguration, its festivities here on 5:30, News Scene at 6, and News Scene Update at 11. Toby?
And of course, many of us are interested in tomorrow's weather for the inauguration.
I think Ronald Reagan and Nancy are listening to this newscast
They probably
just to hear you.
Ronnie and Nancy, it's going to be okay.
And Ken Phillips will give us all the answers to whatever questions Mr. and Mrs. Reagan might have right after this.
Before you buy any car, see Gladding Chevrolet
is running.
A bit of local news to report tonight. There are a lot of hard feelings following a fire last night at a Pennington warehouse. 4 people were injured, another family left homeless, and a 37-year-old business ruined. Kurt Anderson reports.
This is Henry Rosso. This is what is left of Henry Rosso's music company's warehouse on Pennington Avenue. Rosso says the same teenagers who have been vandalizing his other store in this neighborhood are the same ones who set this fire last night. The fire department says only that the fire was of suspicious origin.
Nobody ever hears anybody. They break all these windows out. Look, $1, $2, $3, $1,000 worth.
Rosso says he's finally moving. He's had a tough time here with the vandalism, snowballs being thrown at him, last night's fire, and no help from area neighbors. A point driven home when we witnessed this argument between he and 2 men who work nearby.
All the way over there, all them times that the health department had to come down and get after you on account of the damn rats.
The health department has never gotten after me.
Hell, they ain't. The fire department even come down after you.
They've never.
Rosso's taking his business and leaving Curtis Bay for good, a decision he finally had to make. The 5 members of the Webster family had no choice. Their home was next door to the warehouse. They, too, were burned out. Kurt Anderson on the scene, Pennington Avenue.
All right, let's talk about the march down Pennsylvania Avenue, huh?
Okay. I want to tell you a story from back in 1873, you may recall.
Oh,
Ulysses S. Grant. You think the government of today makes all the mistakes? He had his inauguration on a day when it was 16 degrees with a wind chill factor of 20 below zero. That night they had the inaugural ball in a temporary building, cost $40,000. They had forgotten to put any heat in it.
Whoa, everybody danced fast.
They danced in overcoats and tried to keep warm that way. They're still doing it today, that kind of thing. Let's talk about our present temperature, shall we? They don't need a lot of heat in it tonight. 50 degrees, our present temperature. Relative humidity is at 43%. Wind, it's out of the west at 13 miles an hour. No great chill factor to deal with there. And the barometer is rising. No rain or snow has fallen here today, and no chill factor to figure in. 58 was our high, came at 5 o'clock today. 34, the overnight low was at 1, and again at 2 o'clock in the morning. We're running 9 degrees warmer than the seasonal normal. It was sunny and 48 on this date 1 year ago today. Color Radar 2, computer enhanced, shows that there's nothing out there for us to worry about. No rain or snow. There could be some stuff on the way, so watch the satellite picture. See if we can pick up anything there. We're sitting right here with some cloud cover in the area, but this is a big area, not just of cloud cover, but it's mixed in with rain and snow, and a fair amount of both going on down there right now with a combination of elements. Well, look, let me show you the National Weather Map, what's happening to us. First of all, This low-pressure area and its cold front will be moving in our direction during the day tomorrow. We'll move by tomorrow night. Will bring us some cold air. Sitting down off the Gulf Coast, low pressure is down there now. That's producing that big cloud area we showed you in the satellite picture a moment ago, with a couple of inches of snow coming down in some areas, and then in the warmer spots, parts of Texas, a fair amount of rain being reported. Also snow in Texas, as much as 4 inches in Midland overnight. However, what's going to happen tomorrow? First of all, this low-pressure area will move inland, locate itself about there, and will throw some snow into our mountains and probably a little light rain in through the city area, and later on in the day in through the inauguration as well. This low-pressure area and its cold front will move down. That will contribute to the problem, also bring us cold air for one day. Temperatures will be back in the 30s for a while. So that'll be the big change. A little snow and rain mixed at times, then temperatures getting in the 30s instead of the 40s and 50s. However, things will warm up again. 1 degree in Portland, Maine. That was the coldest spot in the country. Yuma, Arizona reported 75 degrees. That was the highest temperature we could find. High tide on the bay will be at 6:27 tomorrow morning. Winds will be from the north at 5 to 10 miles an hour, and on open water you can find waves running about 1 foot. Now the forecast for around the rest of the state. Some light snow will be moving in during the day tomorrow. Cumberland, Deep Creek Deep Creek has 30 inches of snow on the ground with a high tomorrow forecast at 34, Cumberland 36, 42 degrees in Hagerstown and 46 in Frederick. Some light rain for the rest of us later on in the day. 44 in Bel Air, 42 on the eastern shore, and 46 during the highest point around the area in Washington tomorrow. Now here's my forecast. Mostly cloudy tonight. We can expect a low of 34 degrees. Then tomorrow we can expect to see cloud cover with some light rain moving in late in the afternoon. Still mild, but not as mild as today, 46. And tomorrow night, still cloudy with light rain and a low of 33. The rain could mix with snow in some areas. Cloudy and 46 tomorrow. Looking ahead for the next 5 days. On Wednesday, variable cloud cover, 36 degrees, but then we'll start to get moderate again. Partly sunny and 43 Thursday. Friday, we'll see sunshine and 48 degrees. And on Saturday, partly sunny, 48. So with it all, temperatures will be down in the 30s for one day, and then the January thaw comes right back in and takes...
You know, with a forecast like that, chances are Phillips will be at the inaugural ball tomorrow night.
Probably got a personal invitation.
What a hero.
Dance in a big heavy coat. Maybe they put heat in it by now.
Bring a candle or something.
Up next on News Scene Update, I'll have a story that should give us all just some heart as we wait for some movement in the hostage release agreement.
As you can see, Ted Patterson is here. He says it was a big night in college basketball.
Do stay with us. We'll be right back.
The Red Delicious apples from Washington State are a great buy this year. So if you're feeling the budget squeeze, there's no better way to bite back.
I need something strong for my cold, but I can't take aspirin.
Then look at this, 6-6-12.
6-6-12?
Look, this helps 6 symptoms, this one's 6. But aspirin-free Dristan AF relieves 12.
Sounds strong.
It is. Tylenol helps these 6 symptoms. Contact these 6. But Dristan AF relieves all 12 of them. With the non-aspirin pain reliever doctors recommend most.
Dristan AF, aspirin-free.
Relieves all 12 cold symptoms.
If you could get this $1.23 package of Charmin tissue right now for only 88 cents, what would you say?
I'd say that's a plus.
And if hundreds of savings are on hand at a store with its own top-quality brand?
I call that a plus.
What if there's select produce and packaged meat to make it even easier on your shopping week?
Definitely a plus.
Well, now comes the test. What do you call grocery shopping for up to 30% less?
That's really a plus.
That's right. Plus Discount Foods. If it's not a savings, it's not at Plus.
Throughout history, mankind has been looking for an easier way to settle his debts. Buy now, pay later was a favorite of the caveman. The Babylonians preferred using animals as a means of exchange, but early currency became impractical with larger purchases. The introduction of the U.S. mail made paying bills easier, but delivery wasn't always guaranteed. Now there's Providence Payphone from Providence Savings Bank. It's the best way to pay bills mankind has ever known.
175 years ago today, Edgar Allan Poe was born, and at dawn this morning, a bottle of cognac and 3 red roses were found on his grave mysteriously. The cognac is a Baltimore tradition placed on the grave every year by anonymous fans of the writer. Poe was born in 1806 and died October 7, 1849. He was found in a Baltimore gutter, badly beaten. His killer was never caught, His grave is now a city landmark. We have a stolen hot car report tonight. A blue 1972 Ford Custom has been stolen. If you have any information concerning the theft of this car, please contact the Auto Theft Unit of the Maryland State Police at 486-3101. Do not call this station, please. Call the State Police at 486-3101. A $1,000 reward is offered for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the car thief. If you see the car, do not attempt to take any action yourself. Just call the police.
Now we're going to find out who stole what in college basketball. It was Virginia, Clemson, and Fordham, Notre Dame.
Right.
How did it stack up, Tim?
Well, pretty much according to Hoyle, really. Not too much in the way of upsets.
No surprises.
Not really. Notre Dame, well, they had trouble on Saturday. Number 13 Irish hosting Fordham tonight. And for the second time in 3 days, the Irish struggling with an Eastern team. They did have trouble with Hofstra Saturday before pulling away. And tonight, they blew a big lead, a 13-point halftime advantage. The Rams' David Maxwell, one of the big guns. Great move right here. He had 16. Notre Dame's Johnny Paxson. Look at that feed right there to Orlando Woolridge. Paxson really makes him go with the assist. Woolridge, the key underneath for the Irish. He's the guy who fights and scrapes and comes up with a second and third effort. It was 35-28 at the half. Big night for senior Kelly Tripucka there. He went from 8th to 6th in career scoring at Notre Dame. Watch this steal here by Maxwell. Fordham closing it to 3 in the second half. But Digger Phillips, who used to coach Fordham in the early 70s, regrouped. Notre Dame really got aggressive. Varner here on the bank shot. Tripucka finishing with 21 points. A big write-up on him in this week's Sports Illustrated. His father and his brothers, as well as Kelly, did nothing to jinx him. The final score, as we go to the scoreboard, 67-61 Notre Dame. The Irish win their 10th against 3 defeats. Number 2 Virginia had no trouble dealing Clemson their second consecutive home loss. Well, it was a bit of trouble, really. It was tied 51-all before the Cavs spurted, scoring the last 11 from the free throw line. Villanova by 20 over Towson State. Duke by 9 over George Mason. Providence in a close game beats Georgetown. Mount St. Mary's 88-81 over Bridgeport. The Mounts still rank second in Division II. They're 12-1. Western Maryland 68-65 over Lebanon Valley. And Frostburg State comes back to down Salisbury State. Oregon State remaining a strong number 1 in the AP poll. Virginia strong second. DePaul and Wake Forest tied for third. Tonight, number 5 LSU 81. Number 6, Kentucky, 67. Maryland sitting number 10. North Carolina and Clemson are 17th and 19th. This week's Player of the Week, named by the Basketball News. We're going to see him right there, number 30, shooting from the outside. Drake's Lewis Lloyd. He scored 42 points to start the week with a victory over Oral Roberts out in the Midwest. The 6'6 senior, here he is in the dark jersey, came back with 24 points in a victory over New Mexico State, then ended the week with a 25-point night as Drake beat West Texas. Drake knocked off Creighton 71-70 tonight. We don't know how Lewis did. He's 16th in scoring in the latest NCAA stats, an average of 23.3. Remember when Drake was a power in the Missouri Valley? Laverne Tart, where are you? Congratulations to Lewis Lloyd of Drake, the Player of the Week by the Basketball News. Well, the Oakland Raiders arrived in New Orleans late today, already held a team meeting. Tom Flores trying to make things as normal as possible if he can. Flores, of course, is new to the Super Bowl job, as is this man, Dick Vermeil, who we're going to see of the Philadelphia Eagles. He'll drive his team just as hard as he has.
Enjoy a football game, and that's to win. And I've only been in this kind of situation one other time, and that was the Rose Bowl. And my football team almost had a walkout because they thought I was crazy the way we were preparing for the football game. But every one of those guys, to the man, is a winner in a Rose Bowl right now. And that's my responsibility, to prepare them to win. The only way you have a good time is to win. I don't give a damn, all the parties, celebrations, champagne. Hey, you can do that at any time in your life. But you can't always win a Rose Bowl, and you can't always win a Super Bowl.
Boston 92-90 over Detroit tonight in the NBA. And Jeff Runco, 3 winners at Bowie today. First time he's ever ridden in Maryland, comes in from Columbus. He is riding for Richard Delp. And Muhammad Ali talked a confused Vietnam veteran out of jumping off a 10th floor high-rise today. The two of them had their arms around each other and walked away. And Muhammad Ali has done a lot of things in his lifetime, and today was one of them, one of the better ones.
Thank you, Ted. You know, tonight as we kept abreast of this hostage story, I came across his item on the wire and knew that I would share it. Bill Gruback got a call from the White House this morning to tell him to get a crew and find some decorations and make sure the lights on the national Christmas tree were ready to go. Well, Gruback got his Park Service guys together, and they scrambled to get the job done. They did. He says it's not as fancy as it usually is, but it's the best that could be done. He went on to say that he thinks the tree will be lit sometime tonight for the real reason, and says, and I quote, "It'll be just wonderful." We all hope that that will happen. I'll stay here personally and keep abreast of this story. If anything breaks before we go off the air tonight here on TV2, I will bring it to you live. And that's our report here on News Scene Update. I'm Tom Sweeney.
I'm Toby Marsh. For all of us, thank you for being with us. Good night.
This is Tom Sweeney again. When news is in your neighborhood, call News Scene at 435-TIPS, 435-8477.
Welcome to America's International Playground, the island of Miami Beach. In winter, thousands of Britons prefer this beach to any other.
And we love the side trips to the Everglades, the Florida Keys, and other exciting places.
It's a lovely vacation. And Miami Beach hotel prices are super value. You Americans are lucky to live so close to this island. It's unbeatable.
Tender Vittles cat food says fresh to your cat at every meal.
Fresh. Fresh.
We flavor seal each pouch of Tender Vittles to help keep it fresh, which means every morsel stays moist and tender and tasty. So give your cat the nutritionally complete meal that's fresh, so it's tender and tasty.
Fresh.
Tender Vittles, fresh, so every meal is tender and tasty to your cat.
The 27th Annual Chesapeake Bay Boat Show will fill the entire Baltimore Convention Center for 9 seafaring days, Saturday, January 24th through Sunday, February